You know that moment when a simple decision lingers longer than it should. You replay it from different angles. What you said, what you didn't say, how it might have sounded, how it could have gone differently. And even when everything is technically fine, something in your mind keeps circling back, as if there's still something left to figure out. Most people don't notice this happening, or if they do, they brush it off quickly. But for you, it stays, not loudly, just consistently, like a quiet loop that never fully closes. And over time, it starts to feel like maybe you're the problem, like you're making things harder than they need to be. People might call it overthinking. They might say you're too sensitive, too analytical, too much in your head. But that explanation always feels a little incomplete because it doesn't capture what it actually feels like from the inside. What's rarely talked about is that this pattern isn't just about thinking too much. It's about how your mind learned to stay one step ahead. This is the psychology of people who overthink everything, and there's more going on here than most people realize. From a psychological perspective, overthinking is often a form of mental rehearsal. Your brain is trying to predict outcomes, reduce uncertainty, prevent mistakes before they happen. There's research in neuroscience showing that the brain's default mode network, the part responsible for self-reflection and future simulation, becomes more active in people who spend a lot of time internally processing. In simple terms, your mind isn't just reacting to the present, it's constantly running simulations of what could happen next. Not because it enjoys the stress, but because it's trying to keep you safe. And safety in this context doesn't always mean physical danger. It can mean avoiding embarrassment, avoiding rejection, avoiding regret. So your mind scans variables, replays conversations, analyzes tone, timing, and meaning. It's not random, it's protective. But the part that makes this pattern harder to understand is where it comes from. For many people, this way of thinking doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It develops slowly through experience. Maybe there were moments where small mistakes had big consequences, or times when being misunderstood felt overwhelming, or environments where you had to read between the lines to feel secure. Over time, your brain adapts. It learns that paying extra attention, thinking things through, staying mentally prepared reduces risk. And eventually, that strategy becomes automatic, not because you chose it, but because it worked. In that sense, overthinking isn't a flaw. It's a survival strategy that stayed active longer than it needed to. And it's important to say this clearly. This isn't better or worse than any other way of being. Some people move quickly, trusting instinct over analysis. Others pause, observe, and process deeply. Neither is more correct. They're just different ways the human mind organizes experience. But here's where it becomes more complex. The same system that protects you can also trap you. Because the mind that's good at imagining possibilities is also very good at imagining problems. It doesn't always distinguish between what's likely and what's possible, so it keeps searching, keeps refining, keeps asking, but what if there's something I missed? And the strange part is, the more you try to resolve it, the more it expands, because there's always another angle, another interpretation, another version of events. It's like trying to reach a conclusion in a system designed to keep generating new questions. And yet, inside that pattern, there's something people often overlook: a quiet strength. The ability to notice details others miss, to think deeply about people, situations, and consequences, to care enough to reflect. That kind of awareness isn't accidental, but it comes with a trade-off. Because when awareness turns inward too intensely, it can start to feel like pressure. Like you're responsible for getting everything right before anything even happens. And that's where the exhaustion comes from. Not from thinking itself, but from the constant attempt to resolve uncertainty that was never meant to be fully resolved. Because some things in life don't close perfectly. Some conversations stay slightly unfinished. Some decisions don't come with full clarity. Some outcomes can't be predicted in advance. And for a mind that's used to preparing for everything, that can feel deeply uncomfortable. But discomfort doesn't mean something is wrong. It often just means your mind is operating exactly the way it was trained to. So if this pattern feels familiar, if you recognize yourself in the quiet loops, the replays, the constant internal dialogue, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind learned to be careful, to anticipate, to protect. And maybe it held on to that role a little too tightly. But there's nothing inherently wrong with the way you think. It makes sense. Even the parts that feel frustrating have a history behind them. And sometimes understanding that history changes the way you relate to it. Not by forcing it to stop, but by seeing it differently. Because when something is no longer seen as a flaw, it loses some of its weight. And maybe there's more to this pattern than just overthinking. Maybe there are other ways it shows up, other subtle habits, other quiet tendencies you haven't fully noticed yet. And if this felt familiar, there's a good chance you'll recognize those too.